Accomplished director, producer, more than 20 years in the industry. He has a film coming out, Freelancers, is that what it's called? With
No, the film came out.
Came out, and it's with Robert De Niro, Forest Whitaker, and the director of countless videos, the most recent one, Jennifer Lopez, Love You Papi. And I'm just going to show you just a little bit of his work reel here. And if you can have someone turn off the lights, please.
Let's see what this should be.
You have a kind of reputation now which is a little bit apart from what you really are.
Okay, you can stop it there. That's cool.
Cool. And then, yes, guys. And then I do want to mention too, I also wanted to mention, so I just mentioned I Love You Papi. He also just did The Whistling Yandel featuring Jennifer Lopez, Ricky Martin, Adrenalina. And
It's We Sing featuring.
We Sing featuring Jennifer Lopez, Ricky Martin, and Enrique Iglesias featuring Marco Antonio Solis. So thank you, Jesse, very much for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So the next panelist that we're going to introduce is Carlos Perez. And Carlos Perez is the founder of Elastic People. He is a famed video and creative director. He's worked with artists such as Maná, Ricky Martin, Mark Anthony, to name a few. He's also considered by Hispanic business as one of the most influential Latinos in the US. He's actually worked on over 30 albums that have been platinum. He's done the creative supervision of 30 albums, certified platinum by the RIAA. So I'm gonna show you a quick video of one of his latest works that he's very proud of. And here it goes.
It's just a little. that
And
360
the next
man.
panelist that we have sitting to the right of Carlos is Angie Martinez. So Angie, as you all know, she's an entertainment lawyer, she's an entrepreneur, and recently just announced yesterday on Billboard, she is the executive producer of Mekalani Records under Universal Music. So now she has her own label, and she's also a hip hop head, old school and new school.
Both.
So,
I don't discriminate.
okay.
We're gonna get straight to the questions, and hopefully, if Los Racas come in, we will allow them time to speak as well. So first off, this question is for both Jesse and Carlos. You both have been producing and directing music videos for a very long time. At this stage of your careers, is it easy to recognize before going into a shoot or project what music video is going to have mass appeal and why?
You go first. Okay. Is the question for can we tell if it's going to be a hit or not? Is that? I mean, it's hard. I think anytime you work with an artist, they send you a song, they assume it's going to be a hit. It's why they're doing the music video, and you you never know what's going to catch fire and what's not going to catch fire. You know, sometimes when you're sitting on set though, you feel really good about it, but it's hard to celebrate these days because you could do the best video you've ever done and somehow nobody. The song didn't get the right play on radio, the kids didn't connect with it, it doesn't get seen. So it's really hard to tell. But sometimes you see it, you're watching it, you're sitting on set, and you're like, wow, I think I have something special here.
Cool. Carlos?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like Justin said, the music video is a very, small percentage of the marketing initiative behind the song. So therefore, there's so many variables that at the time that the radio embraces a song, will either impact positively or negatively what that song does. To be able to identify a song or a hit record before you even do a video, it's sort of, at the end of the day, I think it's all about the song. I think I've always said 80% of a good video is a good song. Because you could have $2 million for a video and it's a fucking horrible song. It's like, it's not going to do anything, and vice versa. So, in my opinion, I think it's completely all about the song and then what happens behind it.
Angie, from a marketing label perspective, in your experience, what makes a video captivating enough for people to want to share it over and over again, and for people to want to watch it over and over again?
Well, for me, a video is a reflection of the artist or the lifestyle. Especially now, I think everything is so lifestyle driven that you really have to have an artist that is authentic to what they're doing, So for me, it's are you funny? It all really depends. Are you a funny rapper? Are you an ironic rapper? Are you an artistic rapper, or singer or songwriter? What is your messaging? So I think it really has to do, like Carlos said, I think that the video is a component of the platform, but I think that artists now, it's a do-it-yourself market, but you have to do it yourself. So especially when you're on the come up, and even when you're signed, you still kind of have to do it yourself, And so I think it's a matter of incorporating the video with all of the other assets that you might have digitally. So, tweeting, incorporating a piece of that video on your Vine, on your Instagram video, making sure that you're constantly engaging, But it really all depends on the personality of the artist.
Again, for Jesse and for Carlos, for you guys, what do you guys feel are the key ingredients in order to take the music video to the next level in terms of crossing over from the Latin market to the general market?
I think that having started in the general market, there was a big disconnect between sort of general market videos and sort of the Latin music videos at one point. And, and I felt like, the genre itself was just accustomed to lesser visuals. That's how I felt. And then, when some of these music channels like the Mundosas of the world or the MTV3s started putting American videos and Latin videos on the same platform, you could see the difference in quality. And then I think that, at that time, the artists on the Hispanic side, I think, started demanding sort of a better visual that would match what you would see Justin Timberlake with or with Beyonce. And, you know, that's where I think me and Carlos came in and started trying to elevate sort of the visuals that were out. You know, and a lot of it just has to do with, you know, taste in photography. I mean, you know, these days we are in the content-driven space where everybody thinks they're a director. But it's like, it's a real job, you know, and it's sometimes even in the simplicity, it's really been thought out, you know, and it's about impact. And I think nowadays a lot of people are doing it and they don't really understand the concept behind it.
Carlos, if I may just interject real quick, I just wanted to make mention of the video, the Enrique Iglesias video, El Perdedor. I was watching it about a week ago, and I thought it was so beautiful because it was visually, it was acting out everything that Enrique was saying. So it was like definitely the visual at the forefront. I mean, the song was beautiful, but it was the visual at the forefront. Beautiful, very elegant, and for you to have captured that was very sophisticated. I don't know if it's like a tango, flamenco type thing going on.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to, you know, sort of emotionally incorporate the emotion of the music and dance, right? So, but see, even that video, you know, I wrote a concept. I showed Enrique these sort of waltz contests on the internet and, you know, how we can incorporate the music into this dance. We had a location. Marc Antonio shifted the date. We lost the location the day before. And at 5 p.m. the night before, we built that club on a stage. So it's like if I moved the camera 1 inch, you would know that it wasn't a real space. So everything had to be like perfectly framed. I mean, I probably lost the rest of my hair on that job.
And Carlos?
Well, could you repeat the question?
Definitely.
I think we're,
Definitely. The question was, for you, what are the key ingredients in order to take a music video to the next level in terms of crossing over to the general market?
You know, I'm going to go back to my initial point. I think it deals with the song. I think, you know, if we look at crossover acts in the last 10 years, like successful crossover acts, you know, it started with obviously Gloria Estefan and a few others, and then Ricky, Mark, J-Lo in the early 2000s. And I think that, you know, I was blessed in a sense that when Daddy Yankee's Gasolina came out, it was probably one of the strongest crossover songs or artists that happened. Let's be real, it was about the song. And granted, when I first sat with Daddy Yankee about the song, he's like, he wasn't sure which song it was gonna be his lead single, so he figured it's like, well, if MTV allows me 4 minutes for a video, I'm gonna break those 4 minutes into 3 songs. So then we shot a minute for one, a minute and a half, and a minute and a half. And then once Gasolina explodes, we ended up taking a minute and a half of footage and just repeating, like cloning it in the edit. So my point is, I mean, I think if we look at true crossover, like Spanish language songs that have been able to cross over and invade, you know, the general market, you know, it's kind of, you know, it's un fenomeno. I mean, let's not look at crossing over to the general market alone. It was like Gasolina was #1 in Iraq in times of war, and it was in Spanish. So, I mean, another thing that was interesting with Daddy Yankee was that as Gasolina was starting to explode, we had done a super low budget video for a hip hop song that was Corazones. And ironically, Corazones got on MTV2 on rotation in the English network before Gasolina did. But it was because the general market wasn't educated with the reggaeton, but they knew it was Spanish hip hop. So I mean, at the end of the day, is there a formula to how to make a video enticing for the general market? Really, it's about, you know, just having that key song that people, whether they understand it or not, embrace it.
For me?
Yeah.
Sorry, one last point. I just want to make, and you just kind of like sparked a question. So actually going back to Jesse. So I did not mention, but Jesse also co-owns the Google Finance YouTube channel 123. The way that I found out about your channel was actually through Los Racas. You guys licensed 2 songs, giving us that platform. So Los Racas are not here, but just a quick thing, Los Racas are a bilingual urban group, mixing hip hop, dancehall, reggae. And to Jesse, what do you think in terms of platforms like Uno, Dos, Tres? Do you think that a platform like that is a perfect avenue for these particular music videos that are going to reach a general audience? And I'm speaking primarily of like U.S. Latinos.
Yes, I mean, I think we were fortunate enough to find success in Uno, Dos, Tres and build a subscriber base. And, the internet is about like niche channels. People want to go to one place to get comedy, one place to get this, one place to get that. And we were trying to create a platform that was sort of, an area where all these artists could come together. Because what's happening, a lot of the artists have their own channels. So each artist has his own channel. He's only really promoting himself. And there's not a lot of places where they all come and sort of play in the same arena. And that's what I was trying to do, is have a place where all these artists felt that they had a home, that they could promote stuff, and we could help them promote. And financially, I used the money from Uno Dos Tres to pay for videos and do stuff and try to uplift artists in different countries that didn't have the outlet.
And if I can, and I thank you for that platform, by the way, because one of the artists that is going to be going through my association with Universal is Poeta Callejero. So Jesse and Uno Dos Tres did 2 videos for him. One of them was Baby You, Baby You and Kama Sutra. And I mean, for me, having a platform like that, and I know artists, if there's anything that you take away from this panel, is that a video is a must. It's not a luxury anymore. It's a must. And so for me, those types of tools are so important because it's so difficult to get into radio. And really, people are hearing music through their eyes now. And you have to have it up. You have to be really understand the other side, who's watching. The next generation, and especially millennials, while they're discovering Kendrick Lamar, they're wanting to know who's the next artist after that. So it's really like now you're on discovery mode. And so for me, that's been a great tool. And the fact that you also connect, the fact that these artists get to be on Uno Dos Tres, knowing what Jesse Terrero's background is, opens them up to not just their local fan base, but also viewers that are following him.
Okay, this question is for you, Angie. I want to touch up a little bit about there's still this division, and more it's becoming a gray area about what's mainstream, what's general market, and what's Hispanic market. And I think it's safe to say at this point, the millennials, they're really not consuming media in Spanish anymore. So more and more, I think probably in the next 10 years, we're not going to say anymore, oh yeah, the Hispanic market. It's just like we are going to be the general market. We're already pretty much in the general market. So when you're looking to find, my question is, when you're looking to find talent, how important is it that an artist is bilingual, especially for like the U.S. market?
I mean, for me, I think it's really, my whole purpose here, and having worked with Pitbull, and he was one of the first artists that I started working with, and I look back now and I see that kind of timing worked for his benefit. So if I look back, I see that from 97 to around 2002, 2003, that's when you had this Latin wave, and that's why when Christina Aguilera was singing in Spanish, and Ricky, Enrique, Mark are singing in English, Jennifer Lopez is coming out of, on the scene. And so that happened, and then reggaeton was happening, and for me, I think it was the first time that a lot of U.S. Hispanics could relate to their brethren south of the border, and they're like, oh, they don't have a burro and a hat, like, they're dressing like I dress, and they like what I like. And so I think that that's what created this huge affinity, and Pitt just happened to be straight in the middle, where he had been doing his American thing and the mainstream thing, and the fact that he was bilingual made him that ambassador to cross over. And so for me, I think that when you speak 2 languages, you speak to more people. But for my purposes now, I think that there's so much going on south of the border that I want to create this platform so that the artists that are, in many respects, like a Poeta, like, Danai, who in Cuba, there's no internet, and just by herself, she has, by herself, she was able to get 1 million views, and they're not from Cuba because they don't got no internet. So I think it's important to take into account that a lot of people are now not even listening, to maybe language, but I've had a lot of people come out to just Spanish language shows that don't speak Spanish and they get it. Of course, it is better when you speak two languages and you can kind of live in both spaces at the same time, but I think more so that the lifestyle has now really taken over Latin America, and it's not just reggaeton. I'm not opposed to reggaeton, but I think it's just been like this urban category, and it's like dance hall for us. So there's hip hop, there's reggae, there's R&B, there's jazz. That's all happening. So I think once we embrace that, we're going to be able to really push out and cross over beyond.
And that actually brings me to a point. I was just on your, Angie, I was on your Twitter this morning, and I think you have a tagline that music, the Spanish hip hop, it's not a genre, it's a culture, it's a movement. So, and I'll ask the question again for Jesse and Carlos, but Angie, when thinking about, as you were saying, it's not about language, it's about connecting with the artist, it's about finding that commonality. So just tell us a little bit more about, I know that you're working with a lot of artists from, you mentioned Danay Suarez, I know Milkman from Mexico, for example, those two artists who are, doing urban music, Danay in Spanish, Milkman in English, but how do you think that their movement to come to the States, how will they do it to make their music here?
But it's not about one or two artists. That's why I'm really just trying to create a platform for all artists. And so again, just going back to, I'm working with Poeta from Dominican Republic, Danay Cuban. I'm working with Milk, who is born in Mexico but raised in Texas. But I'm also, and those are just the first 3 artists, but it's really about having a hip hop approach to Latin urban music. So in the US, what do? If you want to collaborate, you get a New York rapper to collaborate with an LA rapper, to collaborate with a Houston rapper, to collaborate with a Chicago rapper, to collaborate with a Miami rapper, and everybody's fan base grows. So if I get the top rapper or the top artist from Dominican to collaborate with someone in Mexico, to collaborate with Colombia, they're all each opening themselves up. And I think also opening yourself up to the US Hispanic experience, because in as much as we don't speak Spanish, we speak Spanish functionally, not, like mami, papi, dinero, or whatever. We have limitations when it comes to certain things, and grammatically, we're not perfect. We still do have our cousins when we go visit Mexico, or that they get it, So I think it's really taking that approach, and then also building a bridge, not only to the US Hispanic artists, but to regular mainstream, hip-hop artists. Public Enemy was in Mexico the other day. Diplo was in Panama the other day. So it's really creating that platform so that they know those people are heard there.
And then just as a follow-up for both Jesse and Carlos, and speaking about how, you were saying that now people are, Andrew was saying, but the question to you, that music now is being consumed visually. So when you guys are working, for example, with these, artists that come in, from other parts of Latin America, visually, do you guys have a different game plan for them than like the Wisin and the Jennifer Lopez and the Ricky Martins?
I mean, for me, I have a different game plan with any artist. It's just, I take a step back and look at what they've done in the past, look at where they want to go, sort of what they're trying to say in their music and who they're trying to say, and then I try to figure out what's missing, if something's missing, and if something's going on that's great, I try to figure out what I can do to push it forward, so that, when they work with me, they feel the impact that I've made, right? But, she's right. I mean, we're in a time where you need a lot of content. So it's like artists need a lot of videos. There's no surprise that like Beyonce put out a whole visual album because it's necessary. Now Beyonce's a big artist, so she didn't put out a bunch of cheap videos. She put out a bunch of great quality videos. But some artists can't afford that, and they need to pick and choose. They need to do 10 videos, but maybe a bunch of them are smaller. And then they need to pick and choose the one big single or whatever that they do a little bit of a better looking video to create that impact and separate themselves from the pack, because there's so much clutter on YouTube. So everybody has videos, so you got to separate yourself from the pack.
Carlos, should I repeat the question?
Yeah, but before you repeat the
Sure.
question, I want to go back in time. We were, the whole like multicultural, Hispanic, U.S. general market. To me, it's just like a bunch of just bad terminology. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a multicultural world. I think the U.S. is definitely Miami is a very clear indication of, what a melting pot or how it works and how the different cultures, coexist. And I think it's very important to me, it's math. It's math. And the more languages that you communicate with, the more people you're going to reach. Mm-hmm. And it's not a mystery that when you look at the charts, you have Romeo Santos, who's born in New York. You have Prince Royce, who's born in New York. You have Pitbull, born in Miami. You have Mark Anthony. I mean, they're all like Latinos born in the U.S., and it's something to as we continue to grow inside the U.S., I think it's, we have a responsibility with artists that regardless of where they come from, they got to learn the language, and if they want to grow and if they want to expand from a business standpoint. You hear artists that are like, no, Mana will not record in fucking English for nobody. And you got to respect that because they are not, it's a very strong point of view. They're very clear on it, and I respect that. From a business standpoint, you have the youth that are coming up, that are growing in the U.S. We got to really instill, whether you want to sing in Spanish the rest of your life, you still got to learn the language. And it's very important that, that gets pushed upon, and not this whole segregation of, no, I'm in the Latin market. You gotta, the more languages you speak with, the more people you're gonna reach.
But vice versa. I also say that to
Absolutely.
my artists that don't speak Spanish, but you have to, una palabrita. Just give me something to relate to. Because I feel like if you even say one word, then we feel like you're talking to us. And you cared enough to say it.
Just don't say corazón 30,000 times an album. What was the question?
Oh, so okay, go
Sorry,
ahead.
girl. So the same question, perdón. The same question that I had asked was, is your game plan any different from those artists
Yes.
coming from Latin America?
Yes,
Spain?
well, I think Elastic People is a multidisciplinary studio. We develop branding, we develop online strategy, we create content, let it be music videos or tour video content or live performance mobile apps, merchandise. So our approach, and I think we handle about 7 to 8 releases a year from A to Z. So what that gives us the opportunity is that, when we hear that first single and we hear the album and we hear out what the artist proposal behind the music is, we think across all platforms. So if you design a logo, it's not necessarily going to only end up in the CD cover, but it's going to end up in a fucking jewelry, or it's going to end up as an animated logo in a tour. Now in the video, the connection between that lead single's branding or visuals, in my opinion, I'm a control freak in regards to how can we create the personality of that song that's going to set the tone for the album. And it's important because nowadays with all the video platforms and the YouTubes and the Instagrams, it's like once we get the video treatment, by the time we're shooting, we're already thinking of what are the ways that we're going to distribute that content. And it's not just cutting it behind the scenes. It's like, how much do you want to release on this platform? What are we going to save for this platform? What are we going to save for the exclusive content that iTunes is going to ask for or the network's going to ask for? So at the end of the day, it's, the game plan is changing every day as technology grows and as more tools show up. And, sometimes anytime that I find myself saying, well, we have a system, I sort of want to restart the computer and say we don't, because the moment that you fall in the we have a system category, you're screwed because tomorrow something else is gonna come up. So the game plan is really just hear the music and let that drive you to whatever outlets there are available that day.
So I kind of want to chime in on something that you said, Jesse. So back in the day, I was a label manager at Sony, and I would probably say like in 2005, I had really nice budgets. And about 2 years later, my budgets went from having like $500,000 to market a top priority artist to having $100,000, and even some artists like $50,000. You can't even, with $50,000, you can't even afford a web episode for many of these two gentlemen. So you said, you pointed something out about, you know, obviously you have somebody like Beyonce, she could do 30 videos if she wanted to, grade A quality videos, but what about for a new artist? Like I do PR now and digital marketing, so a lot of times when my clients approach me, I always tell them, like, don't just come at me with one video and for 3 months that's the only content that you're gonna give me. I don't care if you spend $50,000 on that video. I'd rather you spend $30,000 on a video and use $20,000 to create other content. Now here's from a video director point of view, and this question goes to the both of you. For an artist that's coming up, and obviously, I mean, you could disagree with me, but I think that in this day and age, you don't need those crazy budgets to make a good quality video. There's ways you can do a good quality video without having a $70,000 budget.
You know, it's always the question of budgets and stuff. For me, you know, it's not about the budget. I mean, you can do something quality for no money, but then that means that I'm doing the video for free, and are they giving me a piece of the record sales, or are they giving me a piece of the tour? No.
Sales? There's no record sales anymore.
No, but whatever it is, you send this digital downloads. People are making money, you know. So it's like if I'm doing a video for an artist for no money, is he going to give me 16 bars on the record or a hook? Like, is he going to share his talent with me? He's not. So I wouldn't, if I needed to get heart surgery, I'm going to go to the best surgeon. I'm not going to try to, like, nickel and dime myself in some weird country. And, like, so that's how I see it. Everybody has a craft that, they have to deliver. If a guy wants to spend $20,000 for a music video, he shouldn't call me because I'm not the $20,000 guy. And I'm not knocking him. He has to work and grind, and there's younger directors that are coming up that are willing to do that work, and he has to find that. And then, there's different levels. But if you look at all the stars that are on top, when you look at the Justin Timberlakes, the Lady Gagas, the Jennifer Lopez, the Jay-Z's, the Kanyes, the Rihannas, the Beyoncés, none of them are jeopardizing the look of their video. So somehow, the ones that are winning are still sticking to the old plan. Because visually, they separate themselves from the pack. So when you look at a Jay-Z video, you know he's the king of hip-hop because of the way he feels, looks. Everything about him feels quality. When you look at Jennifer Lopez, everything from the shoes to the visual image just looks like she's leagues above everybody else, and Rihanna. So they're not doing it. So it's like I'm not looking to the pack. I'm just looking to the top,
They gotta get their PhD to get a video with you.
Yeah, no, but if they offered me like if it was a package, when I started working with Wisin and Yandel, they weren't spending the same money 50 was spending. They was probably spending 1/5 of the money 50 was spending, and he was my biggest client at the time. And I did 25 music videos for him, and I ended up doing now I think that I had like 16, 17 with Wisin and Yandel, and now some separate, and I wanted to make a difference in the Hispanic market, so I went after the Looney Tunes and Daddy Yang, and I went down that journey, and I did it from my heart. But we also made a plan that it wasn't just going to be the one video, that I was going to be allowed to, in success and in growth, to grow with it. And then I'm down to do it. I look at new artists all the time, but it's sometimes artists they think. They just, they take you like an orange, squeeze the juice out of you, and then they go to the next person and the next person. Yeah. They're not as loyal.
It's the label that does that.
Yeah, it's the labels too. The labels are not the nicest people. Trust me.
Well, yeah, I mean that brings the whole label. When you talk about a new artist, are we talking about an independent new artist, or are we talking about a label-backed artist? Because I mean, I got the call maybe a month ago, and it's like, first thing, there's this young kid, great talent. He's a priority for us. You know, it's gonna be huge. And then at the end of the day, it's like, but you know, it's a new artist, so we don't have the budget. And then my first question back to them is, what makes you think that if you as the signee or owner of that content, you're not willing to spend the money or invest the money, why the hell am I gonna spend the money? What am I gonna get in return? Are you gonna give me a piece of are you gonna give me 5% of that artist or 10% of that artist? And it's like always silent. So I mean, at the end of the day, it's like there's two things. I think labels are leaving shit for the last minute, because if you have an important act and you don't really want to spend the money, go find a brand that wants to invest and can.
Yes.
And don't do a music video. Maybe you do a EPK or a very strong little documentary about the artist. But you know, it's like it opens a whole broader conversation, which is like, you know, I think the day that directors and producers are making royalties off of the videos the same way a writer or producer of a song make money, it would be the day where Jesse and me would be, I'd have 20 kids doing videos for free because I know I'm gonna make it on the back end. But until that happens, it's like we gotta stay strong. Because in our case, I'm like triple raped. I work for hire photography, work for hire creative and design and branding, and work for hire music videos. So it's like, you know, it's like the day that I think they figure out that we can make some on the back end, 5%, 3 points, 4 points, 5, I'd have 20 kids lined up outside my office, you know, doing $10,000, $20,000.
That's true.
An interesting business model.
You know, and just speaking of, and just quickly, both of you guys have mentioned that you guys, you know, are not only just, you guys are directors and videos, commercials, film, photography. So how important do you guys feel it is that you guys have multidisciplinary fields? I mean, obviously artistic, visual. How important is that to you, to the craft?
It's a must. Nowadays, it's just the way the technology interconnects. You gotta think across all platforms. You can't just think, you know. I'm sure when Jesse's doing a video and there's a product placement in the back of his head, he's got to figure out how that product placement may develop into a possible campaign or a possible viral program. I mean, you have to, the people, it's like the language thing. The more languages you speak with, the more people you can communicate with. And the more distribution points you're able to understand and create content for, the more power the content you're creating has. And I think that at the end of the day, it's like those who are just stuck on, I just gotta deliver a video, do the upload, and that's it. The impact is very minuscule that in comparison to when you really analyze all the tools that you have and you start dissecting that video into all the possible formulas.
But I would say this. I was in a press conference with Wisin y Yandel in Mexico, and the woman that was interviewing them in Mexico was discussing the fact that, you know, they broke into Mexico bigger than any sort of reggaeton act ever did. And the reason that they broke into Mexico was because their visuals changed. And they felt that the music was very ghetto, and when they looked at the music, and it was just like a bunch of girls in bikinis and dancing and that sort of thing, and it all felt a little lowbrow, that a lot of the artists didn't have the global reach to make it to that side of the world. But here they came along with a cleaner visual. They presented themselves, they felt more like a pop act. They didn't look any different than an Enrique Iglesias video, stuff like that. And all of a sudden, the people started accepting it different. And Universal at the time was giving them $20,000, $30,000 to make videos. But Wisin y Yandel will go on tour, and they take the tour money and then give it, you know, to me to do videos, or to Carlos, and they'd be like, yo, we want to do a video, and they would pay from their pocket because they knew that the label wasn't going to invest, and they believed in themselves. And a lot of these artists run around, and that's my issue, is that, you know, if you're going to show up to set in a $200,000 car, but you're spending $20,000 on the video, I mean, that's you. You made the choice to not believe in your career, not me. You know, so it's like, I can't do a video for you if you got more jewelry on than you're spending on the video. You just got here on the jet, but you want to give me 20, you know, it doesn't make sense. It's like, you got to make the choice of how you want to spend your money. And when I saw Wisin y Yandel do it, and Daddy Yankee, and these artists that take the career into their own hands. And you have to.
And you knew.
I mean, just for me, I think you have to repeat the question. Because honestly, I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. Listen, if there's any comment that I can make, again, the visual is so important, and so the visual will sometimes bring a brand, will sometimes bring a synchronization, and there's a couple of artists that I've been working with that have zero radio play anywhere in the world, and the fact that they have so many videos uploaded has given them the opportunity to tour all over Mexico, all over Colombia. So if there's anything that the takeaway is, the video is king, and for me, it's not even necessarily just having the amazing original video. I think, from a song, artwork, and a video, you can actually make various pieces of content. You first put up a video with a static image. The next one, you do a lyric video. The next one, you do a teaser for the video that you spent so much money on. The next one, you do a behind the scenes. And then you do the video, And there's so many different ways you can play that concept. And so I think, then if you want to do a video, of a live performance, have them, because there's artists that every performance that you see is not like the one that's in the recording, So I think it's just, but it's not like having a video off of your iPhone tampoco, Like it's something that has to be done tastefully. It always has to reflect the aesthetic of the artist, the feeling, the personality. That above all is the most, because now your fans really feel like they know you. Like they feel like they know your family. They feel like they know your sense of humor. And so all of that always has to resonate and come through.